Hey everyone, welcome to this video. My name is Alex, and today we're going to talk about the best strategy to buy a home in 2024. For some caveat, I work as a realtor in Los Angeles. I work in Culver City specifically. The average kind of house here is 1.2 mil. So it's definitely not cheap by any means. So that being said, I want to kind of take you how I would approach buying a house today. So it's no surprise that the interest rates are fairly high at 7%. They are expected to come down later this year in September when the Fed meets again. But obviously you can't really predict those. But even if they do take a cut, it's not going to be super significant. I don't think, probably like a 0.25 or 0.5 cut. So that being said, if I were to buy a house today, this is how I would buy one. Today, I would purchase a home with something called an assumable mortgage. So what an assumable mortgage is a home loan that can be transferred from the original borrower to the new buyer. The buyer assumes the seller's existing mortgage, including the interest rate, remaining loan term, and principal balance. So I just like to show an example. I think that kind of adds clarity to this. So let's just say a homeowner bought in 2021 during COVID. They had an interest rate of 3% initially when they bought. And for example's sakes, I just made these numbers easy to digest. The purchase price was $100,000. They only put 5% down on the property, so 5%, which is $5,000, and had a loan of $95,000 from the bank. So if we use an assumable mortgage, essentially what happens is that we're gonna take on the same interest rate that they had and the same payments that they were paying. Also, one thing to note that these assumable mortgages only can happen with either FHA loans or VA loans and cannot occur with conventional loans. That's the big caveat with this. Anyways, going back to the point, here's an example on the market today in 2024. If that same house were to sell today, you'll get an interest rate at 7% and listing price would be like 125. Let's just say it appreciated 25% during those 3 years. And the listing price is now 125. So we're going to be calculating the equity that this previous owner has in the property today. And so based on their initial equity in the home, which is the down payment, it remains as $5,000. And then the equity built in 3 years, assuming they pay all their payments on time. This is an actually amortization schedule. So after 3 years on a $95,000 loan, they should have an ending balance of $88K. So if we have the initial $95,000 that they financed from the bank, subtracted from the ending balance that they have, they built $6,000 in equity over the last 3 years. So then the total equity of the initial down payment equity they got, which is 5%, plus the equity built in 3 years is around $11,000, or almost like 10% of the property. And so the remaining loan is $83,000. So what an assumable mortgage is that you'll take on this assumable interest rate and the same payment that they were paying back in 2023 based on this interest rate if you cover the costs of the equity that they owe. And so what this would turn out to be this listing price difference, $125,000, subtracted by the remaining loan on their initial property. So these out-of-pocket costs would be around $41,000. Again, it's this listing price minus remaining loan. If you were to put around almost 32% of the initial 2024 listing price, you can get the same payments as this 3% buy in 2021 rate. It is ideal to find a property with not that much equity built. So again, like I said, these only apply to FHA and VA loans. So if somebody bought a property at a 3.5% FHA down payment and only bought a couple years ago during COVID, so that is the ideal case to not put too much down to kind of assume their loan and to get that favorable interest rate at 3%. Now, how do we apply this today? The team I'm with, which is called Serene Team in EXP, we actually use this vendor called HomeLight. HomeLight is kind of the leader in assumable mortgages. The thing with assumable mortgages is that normally when they were done, like in the 80s, it would take forever to finish escrow. Like it would take 6+ months for the transaction to finish. HomeLight has done is that their secret sauce is that they can pretty much get this assumable mortgage transaction done in normally 30 to 40 days. And so, they've gotten pretty popular as they can kind of transact fairly fast and, not wait 3 to 6 months in escrow, which is not favorable to anybody. The seller wants to get out of there. They're selling for a reason, so they want to get out of the home. And so they're not going to wait 6 months to be in escrow, which has a risk of even falling out. So pretty much what HomeLight has done is that they scrape the MLS and they look at all the listings that have FHA loans. And then they'll also go in and kind of see how much equity the homeowner has built and kind of get estimated interest rates as well as out-of-pocket costs for you to acquire a home. So let's take this example here. This is a property in Irvine listed for $2.1 million, 4-bed, 3-bath. The thing about HomeLight is that, again, they can kind of scrape the MLS to determine what kind of loan the previous owner bought. And so it doesn't even say in their description that this is an assumable loan. HomeLight has done some scraping and some engineering to figure out that this is an actual FHA. And so another thing they have determined is the actual interest rate that the previous buyer has bought at. They also have this kind of savings calculator, which is really, really important. So essentially for this Irvine home, you can assume the loan of the previous sellers at a 44% down payment of almost $1 million. I mean, obviously this is not ideal. This makes sense if you have tons and tons of cash to spend, but let's just see the savings. If magically we do come up with a 44% down payment, instead of paying normally a $8,000 per month mortgage at a 7.15% interest rate, instead we pay a $5,000 monthly payment at a 2.86% interest rate. So this property they probably bought, COVID or maybe a little bit earlier. The savings on the home, if you were to assume this 2.86% mortgage, you save $3,000 a month, and then over the life of the loan, you save $1.17 million, which is literally half the listing price. And so, this just shows you kind of how powerful this loan is. Obviously, this is not ideal. Most people don't have a $1 million down payment. But there are some gems that you can find with not so much equity built in their home, and they still got a favorable mortgage at like 2 or 3%. So here are some kind of gems that I found on the market today. If you do need help, by the way, you can definitely hit me up. You can DM me on Instagram or contact me in the description below. But so here's an example of a home in Chino. So this property is 6518 Isaac Court in Chino. Again, I don't think they realize that this is an assumable loan based on this description, but essentially this previous owner bought this home at a 3.14% interest rate, and they have very, very little equity in the home. This is, just imagine a normal down payment of 20%. I mean, it's still a lot of money since we live in California. This is still almost $200,000 you have to come out of pocket for. But, instead of a 7% interest rate and paying almost $5.3 thousand monthly, we can instead get this 3.14 interest rate and pay $3,412 monthly, which for this house is pretty insane. I mean, this house alone, based on your kind of monthly rent, like if you're just renting this house, this would already be in the 3,000 mark. So, just spending a couple $100, you are able to buy yourself a property and able to build kind of equity into a house and build wealth for yourself for your future. So again, going back to the ultra savings, it saves you $2,000 monthly, but it saves you almost $700,000 of the life of your loan. So if I were advising you today, considering how long it's been on the market, which has been listed since May and it's already July, this is an ideal home for somebody to have assumed the loan for, because there's not so much competition on it. It just had some price reductions. If you offer, say like $950 and just put a little bit more out of pocket, you know, you can assume that mortgage and, you know, save this much money of the life of your loan. So this is ideal because it's been on the market for a while. It has a low down payment. It gets you in the house fairly easily. This is what I recommend if you were to buy a home today. There are some kind of gotchas and kind of special edge cases that you have to be wary of. Many of the homes you see today have some pretty decent equity built into them, but there are some gems on the market. Like I said, that Chino one was perfect. I would buy it for myself if I wanted to live there. If you are curious and need more information, or if you're buying in California and need me to submit a Assumable mortgage offer for you, hit me up in the description below. Again, I work as a real estate agent in California, and I've been here my whole life, so I know California in and out. Let me know what you guys think, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.